This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro, Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome, everybody. Voice of God. Let you know that I'm back in this week again for the Judge Jeanine Tunnel for Towers Foundation show on this cool Sunday. It is mid-June, for the love of God. I'm out with a sweatshirt this morning walking the dogs. I mean, can someone explain to me what's going on here? Every weekend it rains. It's just incredible. Somebody do some research on this. I guess I should. I'm a host after all. But I want to see, is this the rainiest spring we have ever had? Because it has to be. There's no doubt about it. And if I get one notice from my town telling me I can only run water 2 days a week, sorry. When it rains every day, I'm pretty sure we have enough. Complaining about the weather is like a fruitless exercise because who are you complaining to, really? Mother Nature? I mean, who do I take this complaint to? God? I mean, I don't know. If it rains every Tuesday and Wednesday, let's put it this way. If it rained every Tuesday or Wednesday for the next, 15 weeks, like it has basically rained every weekend here in the New York area, no one would notice because it's Tuesday and Wednesday, and those are days that have no feel. You know, like the old Seinfeld episode. Friday has a feel. Saturday has a feel, Sunday has a feel, Monday has a feel, even Thursday has a feel. Tuesday and Wednesday, no feel. So I'm willing to put the rain days there and give me my weekends back because you got to understand, I'm a dad of 2 kids that play a lot of sports, all right? That is done by design because when they're in front of those screens, you give my kid an iPhone, you need the jaws of life to get that back from them, all right? It is addictive, completely and totally. And I don't know if there's some sort of algorithm in here that just, turns on the dopamine in the brain, not sure, but trust me, put them in front of any screen, whether it's a TV screen, a phone screen, Fortnite, or whatever that game is my son plays from time to time. I've limited now to 30 minutes. Literally, I have a timer on the TV. I'm a sick person. But I can't have them playing this all day. I want them outside. It's what I did when I was a kid. I played some Atari, sure. I played the Pong. I played Pac-Man, all right? Robotron. You go through it. I played it. But my parents limited me, all right? You only do that for so much, and you're going outside. You're going to play, even if it's, taking a bat and hitting a ball up in the air and then hitting the ball to the dog. It does not matter. I have photos of this. I did do that. Now, all of that said, with the kids, they have games, right? Like today, for example, my son played at 8 a.m. on a Sunday, on Father's Day. You sick people. I hope you're listening. It's a very popular radio show right now. Whoever organized that tournament, my son's soccer game, 9 years old, mind you, I got to wake this kid up at 6:30 in the morning on a Sunday to go play soccer in the rain? What is that about? So, all right, fine. 8 a.m. game. We do this show. Then we have another game at 11 a.m. You say, all right, well, Joe, you're done by like 12:30. Big deal. Then you get the rest of the day. It's Father's Day. You watch the U.S. Open. Maybe play a little golf with your kid if the rain would actually stop. Like, do like dad things, Read a book. I don't know. Sit on a lounge chair somewhere. That's what dads my age are supposed to be doing. Nope. Can't do it because my daughter also has a Father's Day soccer tournament down in South Jersey. It's 2 hours away. And then these geniuses that run this thing, they have one game at 2 o'clock and the next game at 5. So after the first game's done, you got to sit around for an hour and 45 minutes. And then the second game goes on. And by the time I can get home, it's going to be like 8:30. And I'm going to have I'm eating at Arby's probably tonight. That's my Father's Day. Anyway, this wasn't what I was going to talk about today. I was going to talk about other serious stuff, but I had to get this off my chest. I'm sorry. At some point, children's sports, it's kind of a money grab. Now, look, it's a great experience for them. I played sports growing up. I get it completely. The camaraderie, the discipline, everything you learn, the winning, the losing, all life lessons. But on Father's Day, can we take a day off, please? And can I get some sun at least if I'm going to be out in this crap? Thank you. All right. I am Joe Concha. This is the Judge Jeanine Tunnel for Towers Foundation show. We have Mark Penn today joining the show, great pollster and a former advisor to both Bill and Hillary Clinton, but he talks a ton of sense from the Democratic side. And then obviously we also have another guest. We have two guests during the show, and this will be Sean Spicer, who was a former White House press secretary and just overall, like, good guy, like the kind of guy you want to have a beer with, which I have, and I'll be happy to share those stories. So this is the Judge Jeanine Tunnel for Towers Foundation show. Back with more in just a moment.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's bring in our first VIP guest, certainly VIP. He's the CEO of Stagwell Incorporated and a past advisor to President Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, the author of Microtrends as well, the great pollster Mark Penn. Mark, how are you this morning?
Good. Good morning.
Good morning. So as far as this attack on Iran carried out by Israel against their nuclear facilities, from a polling perspective, I know we don't have any numbers on this yet because it just happened, but how do you think this is going to play with the American people?
Well, actually, I do have numbers on this.
Oh,
because I had been polling the last 2 days, and I incorporated the question that what if negotiations with Iran fail, and Israel, should the U.S. support Israel in an attack on the nuclear facilities, and we'll be getting that question out as soon as we can. But it was 60-40. The U.S. should support Israel in such an attack. So that, I think, is the opening round of data. Of course, you know how negative Iran is perceived. And in fact, when you ask the question, should Iran be allowed to have a nuclear weapon, 85% of the public says no.
Wow. I'd love to meet that 15% sometimes. Says, sure, that's not a problem. But 85, I mean, that is obviously a number that you don't get to in many polls very often in a polarized country. But it seems that, as you said, 6 in 10 supporting Israel's actions here, nearly 9 in 10 saying that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. I don't see, Mark, however, a lot of Democrats going to social media to say this was a good move by Israel, that we fully support Israel. The only senator I could find, quite frankly, who has been full-throated as far as his support for Israel, and this has been consistent for some time now, is John Fetterman, Democrat, Pennsylvania. He says, quote, "Our commitment to Israel must be absolute, and I fully support this attack. Keep wiping out Iranian leadership and the nuclear personnel. We must provide whatever is necessary, military, intelligence, weaponry, to fully back Israel in striking Iran." Unquote. So Fetterman seems to be the outlier in the Democratic Party, just in terms of, we'll have a conversation instead of talking about the numbers. How long do you think he'll be a Democrat moving forward? Because it seems like his own party is doing everything they can as far as smear campaigns through the press, as far as publicly condemning him for his words, particularly as it pertains to Israel. I could see him almost going a Joe Manchin route at this point, where I'm not saying he becomes a Republican, but maybe decides to be an independent and leaves the Democratic Party.
Well, I'm not going to speculate on what he's going to do in his political future. I think he's a Democrat who's committed to his views and his perspective, and he's expressing them without reservation. And, that's an essential part of leadership. It's not preordained that those who have the loudest voices on social media have the loudest voices at the ballot box. I think, quite often the opposite. And then I look at a disappointing comment like from someone like Senator Jack Reed in Rhode Island, where he called it, reckless escalation. And I suppose he prefers reckless appeasement. You cannot have a statement backed by 85% of the people and by the president that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon and then just let them have a nuclear weapon.
It's really remarkable. And we're talking to Mark Penn, former advisor to President Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton as well, and obviously is a great pollster who really knows what America's thinking. Was an old show on the Hill that we used to have Mark on from time to time about polling about everything. And what would be included on such a show would be the fact that we see Quinnipiac this week having another poll showing the Democrats are at 21% approval, 70% disapproval. I know your numbers are a little bit higher for Democrats, but there's certainly nothing that is comforting. You can't seem to find one that breaks 40% these days. What is the problem with the Democratic Party right now, where they are polling so horribly, perhaps you could say, and maybe this is true, as horribly as they ever have as a party?
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? They bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team, so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. They're passionate about your industry, so you can walk into any room with every advantage. And they're with you every step of the way, so you can know you're headed in the right direction. PwC builds for what's next, so you can get there now. Get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by GM Genuine Parts and AC Delco. Get the most out of your vehicle with GM Genuine Parts and AC Delco original equipment. The only parts designed, engineered, tested, and backed by General Motors. You can find your perfect fit for most makes and models and choose from 3 tiers of parts, including GM OE or gold and silver aftermarket parts. Visit gmparts.com for more information.
Well, look, the Democratic Party has been in the wilderness before. The Republican Party was in the wilderness all the way from Herbert Hoover to President Eisenhower. So it's not unusual for both political parties to go off the deep end, lose their way, and when they get trounced enough, they generally find their way back, as Bill Clinton found a way back for Democrats in '92 and particularly in '96. That I worked on, and right now, Democrats as a party are polling, from what I could see, in record lows. It doesn't surprise me because, in retrospect, I think people look back on the Biden administration and almost scratch their heads about all the stuff that Biden or somebody was doing, and I it'd be natural that there's a no leader until there is kind of a primary fight, and a leader emerges, and that leader is in 72 and 84 could wind up with one state, or could wind up bringing the party back. A lot here has to be determined.
And we're talking to Mark Penn. He is the chairman of the Harris Poll. You can learn more about the Harvard Harris Poll, which is a poll that really seems to be as accurate as any as far as taking the pulse of the American people. HarvardHarrisPoll.com is your website. Shifting gears here, Mark, I want to talk about the LA riots and how that's playing out in terms of who's winning and losing the narrative battle. So obviously, President Trump sends in the National Guard. The Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, has also sent in the Marines as well, even though they're not actually doing anything in terms of an active role, but still more of the presence and the symbolism than anything else. At this point, we're about now 10 days into this story. The riots still continue. They seem to be not as pronounced as they were, but now this could be spreading to other cities as Democrats are trying to organize protests throughout the country. So what do you see overall in terms of who's winning and losing this narrative? Is it Democrats saying that Donald Trump's overplaying his hand here, or is it President Trump saying, look, we're trying to deport people who are murderers, child molesters, rapists who are here illegally, and we have to do what we have to do to get them out after Joe Biden let them in? Who's winning this war right now in the rhetoric battle?
Well, overall, I think President Trump is winning because people back the overall policy that those who are here illegally and committed crimes should be exited or deported from the country. But I think the Democrats are also winning, should there be a hearing. They want to make sure that only the right people are deported, not just people in mass. And so I think, when you look at the numbers, they're both winning some point, which is that the overall policy is favored, but on the other hand, they want the policy favored, carried out, accurately and responsibly. And I think that's going to come through in the data that I unveil later this afternoon.
That's coming out, of course. That's a Harvard Caps Harris poll by Mark Penn. And in looking at your last poll, just to get a general sense of where we are, 63% of voters support the administration's actions to close the southern border. 75% of voters support deporting illegal criminals, even though, as you point out, 53% of voters believe the administration is unfairly deporting people who are not really criminals. But overall, those two big numbers, 63% close the southern border, 75%, 3 and 4, deport illegal criminals. Why do you think Democrats seem to be going to the other side as far as trying to defend the Kilmar Abrego Garcias of the world, alleged MS-13 gangbanger, obviously somebody who in court documents his wife says beat him and now is being charged with human trafficking? What is the political calculus here as far as Democrats taking the side of those here illegally than those who are not here, or as far as Republicans trying to remove them?
Well, I hate to tell you, but beats me. Look, if Democrats were saying, we agree that those here who are illegally committed crimes should be deported, and we will cooperate with that, but we want to make sure that only people, there's a proper due process here, that would be a position that would be responsible. But the sanctuary city position is that no one will be deported regardless of what they've done, that no cooperation will occur with an ICE representative, even if the person is there on trial. And so the Democrats are not coming forth with a policy that could bring in the 70 or 80% and yet also achieve the goal of due process. They're instead only focusing on the due process, and that's why they're not winning this issue.
And we're talking to Mark Penn. He is, of course, the founder of the Harvard Caps Harris poll. Are you the founder, Mark? I want to make sure I got that correct.
I think that's accurate. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll go with that. Fine. We want to be accurate here. So overall, as far as President Trump and his approval, that has held steady. Most polls you see, there are one or two outliers that make you scratch your head. But overall, I see in your poll, for example, high 40s. I see in Rasmussen, who does daily tracking, he went as high as 56% approval this week at one point. But overall, when you compare it to the first term where Donald Trump was primarily in the mid-30s, high 30s, he's about 10 points on average higher. What's different this time around than what we saw during term number one?
Well, I think, first of all, I think the president has a determined agenda. There's no Russia investigation, muddying the waters here. I think the president is holding those people who voted for him. I'm not sure he's converting people, He's not breaking through to the 50% barrier because people are taking a wait and see attitude on the economy. Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? I think people feel a little better, but still, don't have clarity on that point. And that's kind of the major thing that will unlock a next level of support. I think there's a lot of support for some of the immigration and other policies. So I think it's a little early, but he certainly is holding everyone who voted for him.
The website is markpenn.com, markpenn.com, to read all things about Mark's polls and perspective. And obviously, you can follow him on Twitter at Mark_Penn. Final question to you, Mark. Got about 60 seconds. Who's the most popular public figure in politics right now outside of Donald Trump? Is it? I see a lot of great polling around Bobby Kennedy Jr., for example. Marco Rubio seems to be polling pretty well. I can't find too many Democrats that are polling even remotely where they are. But what do you see in the numbers as far as outside of Trump, who else is popular among the American people relatively?
Well, as you just pointed out, it's a very divided country, so it's very hard for people to get positive or net positive ratings. They tend to get either the Democrats or the Republicans, and then independents are kind of a split in the middle. So I think but I do think Bobby Kennedy is very interesting because he does cross over into some Democrats, particularly moms with kids who feel the same way he does about food and drugs, that there has to be kind of greater inspection of the safety of both food and drug products. And I think consequently, surprisingly, even though there were a lot of people who were talking about opposing his nomination, he is among, the most popular figures.
Amazing. And Mark, unfortunately, we have to leave it there, but you are the CEO of Stagwell Incorporated, and markpenn.com is the website, harvardharrispoll.com as well. The results there you can read from Mark's latest polls, and they are fascinating, and there's a lot of different questions, so it's not just the top line, but you want to peel off that onion a little bit. Mark, thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, and this is Joe Concha on the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Show. Back with more in just a moment.
Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at Vanta.com.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. So if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
Choice Hotels gets you more for your money so you can maximize any road trip. Like these road trippers making waffles and eating fresh fruit in their natural habitat. The breakfast area at a Comfort Inn. I just love seeing a vacation maximized in the wild. Check into more. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Home means something different to everyone. But with Rocket Mortgage, home can mean even more. It can mean a college education, taming your high-interest debt, even a renovation. We've made it easier than ever to use your home equity. That home you worked so hard for, now it can work hard for you. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to find out more.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's bring in one of my favorite people, even though I think I've only actually met him in person once, but I always enjoy my conversations with Sean Spicer. He, of course, is the host of the Sean Spicer Show, at Sean Spicer Show, if you want to find that, and also a co-host of the morning meeting on the Two-Way app, which it's a must-listen. I mean, I know I'm not supposed to really promote the competition, so to speak, all that much, but let's face it, it's a very fractured media environment that we're in. People get their information from a lot of different places, and what I love about the morning meeting and Sean Spicer and Mark Halperin and Dan the Democrat is the fact that it's really an authentic conversation, and it's kept on the rails where people just don't yell at each other for like some sort of like contrived CNN sort of panel discussion. Like it's actually real, authentic, and civilized, which is something that you don't get very often in any debate these days in 2025 America. Sean, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
I always enjoy that. I appreciate it. Yeah, if you go to my YouTube channel, you can watch the morning meeting 9 a.m. to 10, and then my podcast is every night at 6. So it's a great Father's Day gift. It's free. Just subscribe to the channel, send it to someone, and say, "Hey, thanks, Dad. Watch this."
Wow, I'm going to do that for my dad. There
you go. And it's free, so it's a last minute gift, and you just send that. And but the cool thing, just not to get off on a tangent, but I think one of the things that I love about doing the morning meeting every morning is we're not there to win you over. It's like to explain what's happening from both sides and how each side sees it. And so there's a lot, obviously, every day that Dan, the Democrat, as you mentioned, Dan Bernstein, he worked for Hillary. He was Hillary Clinton's finance chair. I obviously White House press secretary, RNC for 6 years. And I think part of it is so that when people see a story. And you know this from all your coverage of the media. It's like so many times we get a selective view or an edited view of an issue or a biased view. And you've been covering this for a long time. And so our view is, hey, look, here's the issue. Here's how the Republicans see it. Here's how the Democrats see it. And then we let people ask questions. I love it because I think it's fun to have that kind of a conversation with folks that most people don't get to see.
it's mature, right? It's actually like an adult conversation that we wish our lawmakers would have with each other more. But instead, we see Sean Spicer, Senator Alex Padilla, storm into a press conference by DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. Obviously, he didn't show identification before he went in. 99.9% of people outside of California have no idea who this person is, including security. So, yeah, when he was handled the way he was, it was completely justified when you consider what happened to Steve Scalise on that baseball field in Virginia for that congressional baseball practice a few years ago, where he nearly lost his life. Several others shot as well. 2 assassination attempts against Donald Trump. I could go on, but absolutely, Democrats are in the wrong here. Was this staged, do you think? Was it contrived? Was this just to somehow show that Democrats are resisting, even though their poll numbers are so bad that maybe they have to try another strategy or tact?
Yeah, great points on that. Two things to add to that. Number one, was it contrived? Of course it was. I mean, if a United States Senator wants to talk to the Secretary, and he was there for a meeting, if he wants to talk to her and get an answer, he knew that. He was there to meet with her, okay? He just saw that she was having a press conference and thought, hey, cool, I can create a moment. So he was meeting with her. That's right. So that, and ultimately did. But and apparently they said, hey, she's wrapping up this press conference, and that's when he went in. So the bottom line is that he knew what he was doing. This was a political stunt. Number two, to your point, Joe, when you go watch the entirety of this press avail that she's doing, she's talking, and the cameras are focused on her because she's obviously, briefing the media on what's happening. It's 7 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That he's yelling at her before he identifies himself as Senator Alex Padilla. Now, just as a side note, because the Democrats keep saying, he identified himself. Like, I've been doing this a long time. And whether you're a protectee or if the roles are reversed, the Secret Service, who protects the Secretary of Homeland Security, because it's technically now it's under the Department of Homeland Security, so they protect her. They don't just because someone. Do you know how many nut jobs in my 6 years at the RNC walked into the front and said they were a king or a prince or some elected? I mean, you don't just go, "Oh, I'm Senator Alex Padilla. Let me." That's just not how it works.
Of course. So
they did their job. The security is agnostic. They see a threat and they neutralize it. And you gave some great examples of what they face. Alex Padilla, knew what he was doing. He tried to create a moment, and they did their job. And that's it. And the Democrats look at somehow. And the last thing I'll say is, if the roles were reversed, if this was Capitol Hill and Senator Padilla was giving a press conference and somebody started to come at him, yelling at him, Capitol Police in a second would have stopped that individual, detained them, and made sure they were who they say they were. They would have cited them for, whatever. But he doesn't, just because he's this is insane. This guy gets to say, oh, I'm Alex Padilla, so therefore I have the right to disrupt somebody.
That's exactly right. And that's the thing about this, that whether it be Cory Booker doing 25 hours on the Senate floor for a filibuster where you can't even tell me what exactly he was filibustering, that the performances that we are seeing from Gavin Newsom out of California, I just don't think the Democrats, I'm making a very obvious statement right now, that they don't have a leader that's saying, guys, all right, this is what we need to focus on, and this will be our message. It seems like everybody's acting in silos for their own self-interest. I can guarantee you that Alex Padilla probably can raise some nice money off of this. We suddenly now know his name, and we wouldn't before. I think that's what we're seeing. We're talking to Sean Spicer.
Look, Joe, I think that the thing is that do they empower, do they grow in stature among themselves? Yes. So in other words, I think Alex Padilla or Gavin Newsom among leftists are probably more endeared to them at the end of the week than they were at the beginning. Mm-hmm. But is the broader cause further along? And I would argue no. I think Democrats have dug themselves into a deeper and deeper hole than most Americans, regardless of if you're not an extreme right on the extreme right or the extreme left. If you're just a middle of the road person, you look at what's going on and say, excuse me, why are we burning Apple stores and looting them because of ICE? They've jumped the shark in TV parlance when it comes to this issue. And I don't think that there's any question. I think the Democrats some of these stunts may endear themselves to the hardcore leftist base of that they have, but they're not winning themselves any points with the American people, and that's the problem.
That's the thing, right? There are two tracks here. One track, if you're Gavin Newsom, for example, who really, really wants to be president, is to get the Democratic nomination when he runs in 2028. And you do that by going hard to the left, I think. I don't think you go to the center. And then from there, once you get the nomination, then you pretend that everything you said, like Kamala Harris did, didn't actually happen, and you try to pivot towards the center. So, yeah, I think, this gets him in a better position to win that nomination, but once you get to the general election, pain is temporary, film is forever. You're going to hear all these statements, him defending criminals who are murderers, rapists, and child molesters, saying that we have to battle back against ICE. That will drown him the way it did Kamala Harris, Sean.
Well, 100. You're absolutely right. I mean, this is the thing: is that they're thinking very short term. How do I get the nomination? And then. I joked yesterday on X or the day before, or sometime in the last few days. Doesn't matter. If you care, go look at it. But I joked that like Republican opposition researchers are telling Democrats, please stop, because what is it? The RNC? We pay people to kind of dig through and document someone's past statements and maybe go through their financial records and see if they've done anything, or court records. But what Gavin Newsom and some of these other folks are doing. It doesn't take. You're not going to need an opposition researcher if you're running for president, if you're J.D. Vance or whomever on the right. You're just going to go play the clip from California when they were protesting, quote unquote, and rioting, because it's not going to take more than that. Once you start saying to the American people, "I'm the guy who defended people," and it means just let's go back a second. If you're deporting. If you don't want to be deported in this country, and let's just role play for a second, Joe Concha. Yeah. I go, hey, Joe, ICE is coming from you. And you say, well, but I really want to stay here. And I don't want to be deported. I want to stay in America. I worked hard to get here. I've been living here for 10 years, and I don't want to leave. And if I said to you, okay, Joe, do me a favor then. Go wave the Mexican flag and throw rocks at federal agents. Would you think that was a good idea or a bad idea?
Oh, boy. It's Rhetorical Sunday, so I'm going to go with a bad idea on that one. And that's the thing. I mean, these Mexican flags are everywhere. If you love that country so much, then go back. I think that's what most people, they watch their TV screens and said, don't be here then if you love your other country so much that you left because apparently you were oppressed. It makes no sense whatsoever. SeanSpicer.com. That is the website. Like and subscribe to his YouTube channel. It is free. It is a Father's Day gift, a great one for that matter. Yeah, so just want to turn to the bombing of the Iranian nuclear facilities by Israel, Sean. Brian Stelter now reporting that 99% of Iran is perfectly normal.
Joe Concha.
Sorry.
I got to stop you.
Okay.
Brian Stelter reporting. Come on. I know it's Sunday, and I want to be, I'm in a forgiving, Christian mood today. But it's Father's Day. But Joe Concha, you can't in the same sentence say Brian Stelter of CNN reporting.
I was being ironical.
Good.
The sarcasm is supposed to ooze through. But yeah, the reason why I brought up Stelter in that regard is that when he said that 99% of Los Angeles, everybody's going about their day, he texted his friends in LA and they say everything's perfectly fine. Well, two things there. A, you have to believe that Brian Stelter has friends, which, I highly doubt having met him. But then two, at the same time, that's not the point. If 1% of Los Angeles, which is a sprawling city, is under complete and total duress, as you mentioned, Apple stores being burned, looted, cop cars, robo-taxis being burned, obviously, it's graffiti is everywhere, according to the Los Angeles mayor. And then Stelter has the audacity to say that. So I'm saying that when Israel bombed Iran, as far as the nuclear facility, Stelter would probably say that, 99% of Tehran is perfectly fine. So I don't think there's really a story here. I just find him like a comic book figure, and I just don't know how you dealt with it when you were press secretary. Like, would you read what he was reporting, again, scare quotes, and just be like, I can't believe anybody takes this guy seriously?
This episode is brought to you by Max. The HBO original comedy special, Gerard Carmichael, Don't Be Gay, is now streaming on Max. Emmy-winning comedian Gerard Carmichael returns to the stage in his boldest special yet, bringing his sharp wit, unfiltered honesty, and the kind of vulnerability that's made his voice truly one of a kind. Don't miss Gerard Carmichael, Don't Be Gay. Now streaming on Max.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst. Healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Yeah, well, of course you have to read it, because it's sort of like why I watch Sunday shows on a day like today, because it's not that I take them seriously. I want to see who destroyed Margaret Brennan on CBS's Face the Nation. But part of it is that like you have to know what's out there, because, you know, we talked about the Padilla thing. If you listen to the Dems right now, they start the clip when he's getting, detained. And it's like, well, wait, I want to know. So I needed to know, and always, and I still do to this day, because I have, 2 shows where I want to know what the other side's saying. But Brian wrote the other day exactly, he put on Twitter exactly what you're saying. And I quote tweeted it and said, "Very good, comrade. Next time, please work in the word peaceful protest, the phrase peaceful protest." And it's true. It's that they reflexively go to defending people. The problem with an issue that we've seen in particular in LA is that the video, and you mentioned this with respect to like Gavin and stuff, but like we can see it. So yeah, I get it, but that's like saying like okay, so let's just extrapolate what he's saying. He's like, for most of LA, it's not that bad. Okay, well that's like saying when there's an earthquake that like for most of the country they're not affected with it. Well, that's context is always important, of course, but the idea that somehow they downplay the destruction and the looting and the violence and the vandalism, it's reflexive for them. And the thing that I find fascinating is I'm one of these guys that maybe it's sort of just military training. Like when you go through an evolution, I always will stop and go, okay, what went well? What did we do really well when we just did whatever, fill in the blank? And what can we improve? And if I'm Brian Stelter or the folks in the media, I go, okay, guys, look, the Russia hoax, Biden's mental decline, like we blew it, right? So, gosh, how do we kind of show that we've learned our lesson and do better next time? And instead, they double down on stupid.
Yeah, it is 31 flavors of stupid. That is so true. SeanSpicer.com. That is the website. The morning meeting on the two-way app every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time. It's a must-watch. I don't know how else to say this, but it's part of
just to be clear, I would just say you can always, the easy answer to all this is just go to Sean Spicer's YouTube page, sign up for everything, and then you can watch the morning meeting, you can watch my 6 o'clock show. I've got it all. So that's to me, just make life simple. Go to my YouTube, sign up, hit the notification button, and then you never have to miss anything.
That's a great point, because you see that scene in Back to the Future where they reel the TV in front of the kitchen table because Jackie Gleason and The Honeymooners was on, but you had to watch at a certain time. I mean, I sound so dated at this point, but yeah, you can listen and watch anytime you like at your convenience, and that's just the way media is these days. And you're so right about Stelter, by the way. It would be like Michael Jackson saying, my hair is on fire, but the rest of my body is okay. It's like, no, that's not the way it works, certainly. Hey, Sean, they're telling me we got to go, but we will meet up at the infamous Irish Times sometime. I believe that's right by Union Station, if my memory serves me correctly. It is. That's right. Yes. Went to school down there, so it's been a while. But anyway, we got to go. But you have a happy Father's Day, and we really appreciate you. By the way,
I would just say that I think we're old enough now that we can both afford the doubler. A little bit more adult and mature. But I think we've earned it.
Oh, that's funny. I'm a Mad Hatter's guy myself from my Maryland days, but I have a feeling I wouldn't fit in there at this point. But they're saying, get out of here, Joe. We got to go to break. So, Sean, thanks so much again, and happy Father's Day, sir. You too. Take care.
You too. Take care.
All right, this is the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. Back with more in just a moment.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show.
Entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Yes, I am Joe Concha, Fox News contributor, senior writer for the Washington Examiner, and the author of the New York Times bestseller. You can still get it today. I'm pretty sure Amazon probably can get this to you same day, or just go to a bookstore. It's called The Greatest Comeback Ever, Inside Trump's Big Beautiful Campaign, ... Unburdened by What Has Been. Yes, it is a fast-selling book, and all the reviews are great. I go to Amazon, I check it from time to time, like, do people, really like this slop? And sure enough, they do. Nah, it's not slop. I was behind the scenes with the president, backstage, Wildwood, New Jersey, Madison Square Garden, Republican National Convention. The president was kind enough to give me 40 minutes for an interview for the book as well. So everything that happened in this campaign, and we forget, it was, less than a year ago, the craziest, we'll call it 4 months we'll ever see, from when Biden dropped out in June all the way up until November 5th, where Donald Trump won every swing state, the popular vote. Republicans took back the Senate and held the House. It really is the greatest comeback ever. I mean, with all due respect, which I have very little for, Red Sox fans, 2004, yes, you came back on the Yankees down 3-0. That was impressive, but not like this. Not 94 felony charges against the president, not a hostile media, not 2 assassination attempts. You think about everything this president overcame. And the fact that he won as decisively as he did. Granted, the opponent was more like the, Washington Generals, right? And they always played the Globetrotters and lost every time. I mean, Kamala Harris, you can't find a worse candidate. But I don't think anybody who ran on the Democratic side was beating Donald Trump here, because he was on the right side of every issue, including immigration, by the way. And we saw this week Senator Alex Padilla storms into a press conference that Kristi Noem was holding, the DHS secretary, like a maniac, with no identification shown when he went through the doors at the time. I mentioned the 2 assassination attempts against Donald Trump. You can't have people storming into cabinet members' press conferences. You don't know what they're capable of. And quite frankly, it's one thing if it's, Bernie Sanders. He's recognizable. Elizabeth Warren, she's recognizable, Indian heritage and all. Ted Cruz is recognizable as far as, if we're talking senators. Alex Padilla, you couldn't pick him out of a lineup. 99% of Americans outside of California. Guaranteed. 99.9%. And this guy storms in and starts screaming. He's a lunatic. And yes, security escorted him out. They handcuffed him briefly. Because what else are you going to do? You don't know who this person is. That's a cabinet member up there. Tensions are high. The temperature, thanks to Democrats, has been risen to a level where someone's going to get hurt who's in this administration. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's the way things are now, unfortunately. And you have to err on the side of caution. And this guy goes in there, and now, oh boy, the media, of course, if they could do this to a sitting senator, they could do this to you. Oh, Donald Trump is acting like a dictator. No, actually, no. It's all about security. And remember what Los Angeles and the riots there and other riots breaking out throughout the country are about. You were either on the side of protecting those who murdered people, including children, who have been convicted of child molestation, of rape, the worst of the worst. Donald Trump wants them out of here because they entered the country illegally. For that reason alone, they should be gone. But then especially because they have literally hurt Americans while they've been here. And it's incredible because we talked to Mark Penn, right? And nearly 9 in 10 Americans believe we should deport those who are here illegally who have committed violent crimes. I don't know how that's not 10 in 10, but fine, 9 in 10. It is an overwhelmingly popular issue for the president. And by the way, he's not doing it because it's popular. He's doing it because it's right. And the fact that Democrats continue to go down this road where we have to protect these people. You have to protect these people? You have to protect the citizens of this country who are being killed, who are being hurt, who are being raped. That is your job as a Democrat. And instead, you go out of your way to do these stunts like Alex Padilla did. I'm sorry. I'm so glad that we have X owned by Elon Musk, because that is a great equalizer. So anytime you hear the media saying that he somehow is a victim, trust me, the great equalizer is X, is social media, showing you the videos and people making a determination for themselves that Alex Padilla was totally in the wrong here. And by the way, totally contrived and staged, like everything Democrats do these days. This is Joe Concha. This is the Judge Jeanine Tunnel for Towers Foundation show. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you next Sunday, 11 o'clock, right here. Have a good Father's Day.
Thanks for listening to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Sunday Morning Show. You can hear Judge Janine's Tunnel to Towers Sunday Morning Show Sunday mornings at 10. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?